So in Oregon on Friday, they were talking about, again, using the 14th Amendment against President Trump. So the Supreme Court in Oregon said, we're going to wait till the Supreme Court of the United States makes a decision on the matter, which is surprisingly enough a good decision, right? It's going to be coming in February. They were hearing a challenge by 5 voters in Oregon that want to challenge it. Let me repeat that again. 5 voters are occupying the time of the courts to go after President Trump and have that much say in the state that we have to be talking about this. 5, just 5 voters. So that's why it's been brought up in Oregon. Why does it not surprise me or you? There's actually been a dozen and even more filings against President Trump getting on the ballot. The thing is that the more that they do this, and the more like the small numbers of just like 5 voters are doing this, and it's going to get crazier, is only inspiring us to talk against this. And the Supreme Court is ultimately going to make this decision in February, which is going to be a big deal about our freedoms in this country. They continue to call the riot at the Capitol an insurrection. They obviously are weaponizing it and had planned on weaponizing it even before that it happened. I mean, look how much they're using now the insurrection on all the mainstream media, liberal and conservative media, just going off on this insurrection thing. I guess because it creates views, but it really has no standing in my opinion. You can see more details on January 6th on our playlist. It's about Roy Epps, and I put a link at the end of this video that you can tap on. It's a 3-part series. I think it's relatively detailed, plus I share some of my experiences while I was in Washington, D.C. during that time. A true insurrection is what happened in the Civil War, no matter what the Democrats tell you. Let me read this to make sure I'm going to try my best to get it right. Lavone Griffin Valdez wrote that she had no authority under state law to make an action on this. Actually, it's a decision I agree with. I really am. My goal with these videos is not to totally be Republican leaning. I'm trying to get to an audience that leans left and right so we can all have a discussion about this, an honest discussion, because it affects every one of us in this election cycle. If the Democrats can get away with getting President Trump off of any ballot, anybody that's in power is going to go after their political opponent like they're doing now. Then we're a banana republic. We're no longer being a republic. The Colorado Supreme Court had ruled that the 14th Amendment's Section 3 bars individuals who have engaged in insurrection or rebellion from appearing in state ballots. We cannot forget that when President Trump was speaking, he said peacefully protest. He did not say, let's attack the Capitol. He did not say anything like that. They keep clipping little clips, like they've always done with him, to go after him as their political opponent. The attacks are going to continue, and unfortunately, I predict, are only going to get worse. I believe that it was planned from the get-go, even before January 6th. Nancy Pelosi rejected President Trump's request for the National Guard there to protect the Capitol. They even took people off the schedule on the 6th during that day that the rally was going to happen. And then we have the Capitol Police, and then that Ray Epps Trump supporter. Capitol Police were guiding people in very politely. Ray Epps was, yelling and screaming and telling everybody they got to go into the Capitol. That's, again, makes us go, Let's not forget that there's too many inconsistencies to not think that it was a setup to, again, call it an insurrection and do exactly what they're doing now, because they think they can't be President Trump. And looking at the polls and looking at Joe, it certainly seems that he's going to win this election. Can't imagine him losing. But then again, we imagined that too in 2020, didn't we? Again, if I was a Democrat or Republican, I think we should all be talking this way, because it's the end of our country as we know it, and freedoms that we all enjoy. In a way, President Trump kind of gave it to him on a silver platter by still having the rally when the protections weren't going to be there. The risk of it, the risks of, feds or other groups that were going to be wearing these Trump hats to look like Trump supporters and then act all of this out. There are a number of people that were dropped off in the front of the Capitol building, not behind the Capitol building where the mall was, that were in vans and they were wearing Trump hats, and that brings it a lot into question, doesn't it? The sad thing is a number of court justices in Colorado support trying to get President Trump off of the ballot. Even though President Trump has not been formally charged with an insurrection, everybody just decided to call it an insurrection. He's not been charged with it. He's not been charged with it. I mean, if you watch the mainstream media, you think he has. Am I wrong? Let me know. Here's a statement from the Attorney General from New York, and a warning. This might not be kid-friendly because the amount of lies that are coming out of her. Let's watch this together, and I'll break in every once in a while with my comments of what I think is a tell. When somebody has a habit of doing something like a twitch or a touch of the nose or a blink, that's a tell. And you're going to see a whole lot of blinking. And when the blinking's happening, I believe she's lying. Let's watch.
In our case against Donald Trump for persistent and repeated fraud, illegality. This case has never been about politics or personal vendetta or about name calling. This case is about the facts and the law. And Mr. Donald Trump violated
I believe she's lying
the law
every time she blinks.
And as you know, the judge has already found that he in fact violated the law for repeated fraud over a period of years. And so I want everyone to know that the personal attacks really don't bother me. The fact is that this trial has shown, and we have produced evidence about the scope, the scale, the depth, the breadth of the illegality, the fraud that impersonally enriched Donald Trump and his family. I want to thank the judge. I want to thank my team. I even want to thank opposing counsel. But at the end of the day, the point is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how rich you are, that no one is above the law, and that the law applies to all of us equally and fairly. I trust that justice will be done, and I'm confident in that. And I'm extremely proud of the case that we put on.
Do you really believe that the attacks on her don't bother her? I don't believe it.